we get so much pressure when we graduate high school or graduate college, and we feel like, okay, now's the time to figure it out. But truth of the matter is, like, you never really have everything
No.
figured out. So I mean, to take away that pressure and to take away that sense of urgency, I guess, is like the most important thing, because you're going to spend years and years and years and years still finding every puzzle that is your life, or every piece of the puzzle that is your life. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by the one and only Crazy Ant Media. Today is going to be a very fun topic. We're very excited about it. We're going to be talking about life and its changes, because man, oh man, things can switch at the drop of a dime. I'm not even lying to you,
Yeah.
because I mean, this past year has been a little bit of a roller coaster, and we've had interesting years before, but this one is different. This one is very different than anything we've really ever experienced, because a lot of things that happen to us are like out of the out of the realm of our personal lives, I guess. This specific year, a lot of things, I guess, held us back in the company at Crazy Ant Media because of a lot of personal things. And that sucks, but you also see growth in your personal life, whether that be getting healthier or moving into new places or a whole bunch of other things like that. So we're going to be talking all about life and its changes because, yeah, you and I both, we've had some very interesting times recently just trying to get back on track. And I mean, that's the biggest thing, especially right now. Feel like the last couple weeks have been good because we're slowly but surely getting our wheels turning again.
Sure.
But recently, man, it's been rough to try to schedule stuff.
It was well. I like the way you kind of said it. It's I feel like the majority of the stuff. So if you guys don't know, right? We if you're just a fan of the mental health podcast and you're not all in on everything yet, you should be. We are filmmakers. We have a production company, and we were ready to go. We were supposed to have shot our next film quite a ways back, and just things out of our control. You guys know the strikes happened, the writer's strike, the actor's strike, and that just shut everything down. And so that kind of delayed us. That pushed us back a significant amount. We had to deal with that. We, as a company, we have quarterly plans. We have the whole year planned out. We break it down into quarters. Came flying out the first quarter. Everything was on schedule. We were rocking and rolling. It was probably one of the most productive quarters we've ever had. And we were like, yeah. And then the strikes hit. And it just came to a grinding halt. And we're like, okay, well, the strikes happen, but you know, we got your marriage coming up. We've got relocation coming up. We'll shift. We'll focus. We'll do what we have to do. We'll push the production back a little bit. We'll take care of that kind of stuff. And that's what we did. And we thought, okay, everything's kind of, now we're getting it again. Everything is kind of a go in. And then I had heart issues. and we ran into a wall now where my relocation got delayed because now I'm having to try to get what's going on with my heart. Why am I having these issues? How healthy or unhealthy am I? What do I have to do? And then that was like, okay, so now what? Now we're delayed. Now we've got to push it back even further. But like Logan said, we're also very optimistic. We try to be, for our mental health sake, very just in tune with the universe plays out the way it's going to play out. Everything happens for a reason. And we were like, okay, what's the positive on all this? What can we take away from this instead of focusing on why is this happening to me? We focus on what can we learn from this? What can we do from this moving forward? And like you said, it's you guys were able to get into a new place. If first, married couple, the marriage happened. Yay, everybody! And you're starting your first a place together. As a married couple, and that's all kind of brand new. I found out where my heart situation was, and now have adapted to an entire new regime of health that I have to do in order to keep my health good. And so we're looking at, so positive things come out of, sometimes the negative that you can't be in control of, right? And so I think that's my point that I really want everybody out there listening to, right? The name of this podcast is Everything is Okay. And that's because even when things go wrong, even when things seem chaotic, even when it's not going the way you planned, it's going to be okay. If you just roll with it, say that's life. Some things I can control, some things I cannot. Step back. It's just so critically important. You and I have learned one thing over the last year is mental health and how you deal with situations is critical in how your mental health plays out. If you just, life sucks, everything's bad, why is this happening? Why is this dumping on me? Why didn't it do the way we wanted it? You are going to go down a rabbit hole that you do not want to go down mental health wise. But if you approach it at, well, God clearly meant for me to still do this and do this and do this, and this is how it's going to play out, here we go. I just think it's a much better way to approach it all and stay happy and healthy, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different situations because during the midst of everything, trying to figure things out as far as my personal life, trying to get everything rocking and rolling, I got a car and an apartment in the same week, which was terrifying. I mean, this is the first time that I have a brand new vehicle, so I got a monthly note on that. And then, like I said, we moved into a bigger place to where, we have a lot of room and have, the things to put everywhere. But I mean, it's still overwhelmingly like bigger and more of an expensive rent payment. So there's all of that different stuff. And then plus, I'm trying to balance this personal life, school, work, everything happening all at once. And last week it actually came kind of not to a crashing halt, but I mean to a point where like I did have a panic attack. It was a lot. I made sure to reach out to everybody who is close to me, all the people who I look up to, so they could give me, processes and pieces of advice and positive affirmations and things like that so they could help me get through it. But it wasn't even anything crazy because I come on this podcast or the other podcast every single week. I've attended red carpet premiere events with big name celebrities there, charity events. So stage fright has never really been a thing for me, but for my final for a class that I was taking in college, I just I don't know why. It was like the anticipation. We had to write like a brief essay about who we are, what we wanted to do in the course, and our backstory on the industry that we're in and things like that. So that I don't know why the anticipation of writing that and what I wrote was actually very good because
Yeah.
I mean obviously I do this shit. But to freaking go up there and present it to people who I had either just met or for this specific class, people come in just for this class. So I mean that was a little uneasy because these are complete strangers that I've never had a conversation with, even though again, like at our premiere, I'm standing up there in front of 30 to 50 people and we're
Yeah.
answering Q&A questions and things like that. But it's a prime example of showing you that mental health can pop up at any time. It doesn't matter what's going on. With a lot of pressure that you put on yourself and a lot of changes happening all at once, it can be very daunting. It can be very anxiety inducing to the point where you do just shut down. And that's what I did. I shut down and like I was able to text everybody, but if I was with somebody in person, I would have been quiet because that's how I have my panic attacks. I'm very quiet. I just completely zone out. Like, even to this point, I was like physically shaking, which was crazy because that hasn't happened in a while. But I just wanted to show an example of, these things happen every single day. It's
Yeah.
just the amount of pressure that you have at, one given time. And I would say this is probably the first time I've put this much this quick. And I think that was probably
Well,
what was the anxiety inducing part.
I have a theory on it. Because of you've been relatively large on a small stage. And with the addition of the car, with the addition of the new place, with the addition of school, and now I feel like all of that has expanded your stage, and you were feeling small. You were feeling small now on a very large stage, and that can be very intimidating. Where you were in command before because you had it all very tight and concise, now it's very wide, and now it's overwhelming. And so, and you've lost no ground. You're still that big person, but you feel small because the stage has gotten bigger. And that's my theory on what happened, right? Because this is the first time that you've had all of this going on and in this situation. And that can bring on moments of like, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into, right? Like, I remember that feeling. I remember, when I first got married and we got into our place, and I was terrified. And then just as I was getting comfortable, I'm pregnant. What?
Right.
Wait a minute, I just figured this out. Now we've got something else coming? Like, oh shit. So I had just started the job at the station, and so I understand where you were coming from, and why. I really do believe that's what happened, because I felt that way. I'm like, all of a sudden my world is just getting ridiculously big, and all of these things are coming into it, and am I even ready for all that? Right? Of course you are. Right? You're fine, but you got to take that process of figuring it out and stepping back and going, I'm good. It's all good. For me, and this is funny because we're doing a little project with our film, y'all, and we were talking about comfort zones and stepping outside the comfort zone and what was our first big thing. And I shared recently that for me, it was, and this has been a big change in my life and something that I've been dealing with over the last year or so. And it's really understanding. So my comfort zone, the first time I ever kind of got out of my comfort zone is when I got divorced. And for the first time in my entire life, I was on my own. Prior to that, I had always had family with me, or I had a roommate with me, or I had my wife with me. And for the first time, I was all on my own, and I was like terrified. I'm like, oh my God, I've never been alone. I don't know how to do this. And I was horribly out of my comfort zone. I'm like, I don't know if I can be on my own. Am I responsible enough? Can I cook? Can I take care of myself? How do I maintain being a dad now? How can I take care of my child when now I feel like the child? And I don't even know if I can take care of myself. I got to get my situation all straight and everything. So, but what I learned over the years, and specifically this year in general, is, and this is important for anybody out there listening, because I feel like a lot of people go through this as well. There is a giant difference between being alone and being lonely. And I had to differentiate between that, because I would get myself into these downward spirals where I was convincing myself that I'm lonely. I need somebody. I can't be alone anymore. That's just not the case. I wasn't lonely. I was just alone and needed to figure out how to be alone, how to function alone. And it's been a journey, but I can say this: I actually have figured it out, and I like my alone time now. It's good for my mental health. It's like sometimes, well, even for you, like you said, with anxiety and being in front of groups of people, and sometimes I like the idea that sometimes I can just be all me. And I can go somewhere or do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. I can just scream out loud if I need to. And just so learning to be alone but not lonely has been a drastic change in my life over the last year. And it's really kind of helped me come into my own. And I think now I feel much happier and better when I am with groups of people, or when I am with people, because I'm not dependent on that anymore. And that makes me better, because I feel like when you're with people and you're dependent on them, it plays into that. And you gotta understand that you gotta lose that codependency type thing. So yeah, it's crazy how it all works, man. But again, I'm just a firm believer in everything, we're just really not in control. We're not driving the car. And we just figure it out and go where we're supposed to go. And eventually we get where we're supposed to get. And that's proof positive because, like you said, this year is ending really strong. We're back on track. The past couple of weeks have been great. And we're just like knocking things out. And yeah, it's just been crazy, though. Crazy.
It really has. But isn't it interesting though? Because I feel like in group situations, like if we're standing in a circle with a couple of different people at like an event or something, I feel like you are best at talking to everyone in the circle. And
Yes.
I am best at solo conversations because I feel like, I can focus on this one person, but you are very good at jumping around different people to different people. And that's why we work. That's why we work together
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
So I just think it's so interesting because like you think about the grander scheme of things about who we are as individuals and where we want to go in life and all of those different things and kind of you really don't even have all the pieces to your puzzle until you're like about to die. Like
No,
you're
that's
spending your whole life just trying to figure yourself out, which is always so interesting because like there's so many different things in the world, like hobbies, food, flavor, whatever it is, and you're spending your life trying to figure out what is the perfect version of you, what is the best food to eat, what is your favorite show, like things like that. So it's to think, we get so much pressure when we graduate high school or graduate college and we feel like, okay, now's the time to figure it out. But truth of the matter is like you never really have
no.
everything figured out. So I mean, to take away that pressure and to take away that sense of urgency, I guess, is like the most important thing because you're gonna spend years and years and years and years still finding every puzzle that is your life or every piece of the puzzle that is your life. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a stressful thing. It's a terrifying thing, but just to try to put it all together and then look back and look like this is what I created. This is what I left behind. This is my legacy. It's so cool. Life is very cool. It gives you the hurdles, it gives you the challenges, it gives you the sunshine and rainbows. But man, oh man, the journey is really the fun part.
And
That's the whole picture is great, but the journey and putting each puzzle piece in the proper place is the fun part.
And that is where exactly I was going to go. See, because we really are just like linked. I was going to say that exact thing is it's when you put all those expectations on yourself and you say I've got to figure it all out and I have this timeline or I have this, that is a destination. And
Yep.
any destination, you get to a destination and then it's over. But life is not a destination. Life is a journey. And it is a journey from the time you are born until the time you die. And the purpose of the journey is a continuous journey figuring it out. So if you ever do think that you get to a point where you have it all figured out and your life is perfect, it's not. You're fooling yourself into a delusion that is not real. Because if you ever do stop growing and learning and progressing in your journey, then you really are done. And that's not how life works. So I love that you use the word journey because I think anybody out there struggling right now, if you transition to that mindset, that life is indeed a journey and there are no expectations, there are no timelines. It's just you spend every day taking that journey and figuring it out as you go. And sometimes journeys, you make a wrong turn and you have to get back on your path. But if you get into that mindset, life becomes so much more simple and you become a lot happier when you alleviate those pressures from yourself, because I think that's where everybody gets into trouble with mental health, when you either self-impose those expectations on you or you allow society to put those expectations on you. There's no timeline. Just because you graduate high school doesn't mean you have to have a job right away. Just because you graduate college doesn't mean you need to get married right away. Just because you get married doesn't mean you have to have a house and 18 cars and a family right away. Everybody's journey is different. So if you just look at it that way, right? Well, Sally's already got this. Well, Sally's on that journey. You're on this journey, right? So don't worry about what Sally's journey's doing. Worry about what your journey's doing. And I think you and I, and especially with the launch of this podcast, I think it's helped immensely. We joke all the time that it's our bi-weekly therapy session. We've learned a lot about how to navigate that journey. And we're still continuing to learn how to navigate the journey. But I think the one thing that we've seen is we are both more authentically ourselves now. It's a more authentic version of who we are. Because I do think we felt early on the pressure and the expectation that we were putting on ourselves, and we were putting out a false version of ourselves to try to meet those expectations. And now it's just, I feel like we're far more authentic in how we're living our lives, and we deal with the struggles, like you said, the hurdles and the hiccups. We get past them, we move on, we build from them. And that's a good thing, man. And so I love that you use the term journey, because that is definitely how I feel like most of the people should approach their life, as a journey, not a destination.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And then I mean, plus too, like there's so many different family obstacles that we're both overcoming. Like for both of us, we're either amending relationships with family members, and that's a slow traction, or we're either meeting new family members for the first time who I never thought I would meet. Like for example, my mother just found out 2 years ago who her real father is.
Right.
I never thought I would meet this man. All throughout life, it's always been my grandpa who was, actually her stepdad. But she didn't even find that out until later down the line, probably when she was like 8 or 10, something around that age.
Yeah.
But to finally find out who her real father is, not just to find that parental figure, but to also know more about your backstory, know more about like the diseases that run in your family and things like that.
Exactly.
And right now, kind of what I'm struggling with, and it's all on own personal timetable and things like that. It's hard for me to call him grandpa, just because I literally just met this man. I met him about a year ago. And I was very timid at first. I was like, I don't know, how I want to approach this, because the memories I have of what was my grandfather, were very good. Even though he wasn't the perfect man, the memories I have of him were very good. But it's always so interesting is when people die, you put them up on a pedestal and you have nothing bad to say about them. Like, no, be honest about who they were. It's fine. But to try to just build a relationship with this new person who is my biological grandfather is very interesting, because like super nice, super generous. He came to my wedding and like he sat at the head family table. So to try to build that relationship with him and that repertoire is so very interesting. And then part of me feels bad too, because like when my mother speaks about him, because they're building their own relationship and
Sure.
that's going very well. When my mother speaks about him, she calls him dad, and for some reason that makes me uncomfortable, I guess just because I'm not personally there yet. So it's just very interesting to try to balance all of that and to try to bring new people into your family when you're like, I already had my people. I've been on this earth for 28 years and I had my people. So it's very interesting to bring new people in, not by marriage, by biological. So it's very interesting. But I mean, I know you're going through a similar thing, just trying to just you have barely any family left. So you're
Yeah.
just trying to make sure you all have positive memories, before passing away,
Yeah.
because not a lot of people know, but you're one of the last Bergmans. Your family line, like, might die with you. So I mean, what is that mentally like?
Um, Terrifying.
Yeah.
um, Yeah, no, my line will die with me. And if we go back and we look at our history, it's a very long history. So long, in fact, we were von Bergmans before Bergman. We changed the name, but we go back centuries. And the idea that I'm ended it. That is I don't even know how to think about that. But then there's the twist of I have a brother who would technically still be. I'd still be the
Yeah.
one ending it though, because he's older than me. But but he's not, because he was adopted and he doesn't view himself as a Bergman, and so I don't know. But like you're right. I think it's when you when you're already in a family situation where it hasn't been perfect and you're kind of mending those relationships, and then in essence strangers are interjected into it going, by the way,
Right.
here we are. That throws everything off, because now you're trying to figure out, how do I insert this into something that's not quite fixed yet? It's still mending, and now we have this other thing in there. That has been crazy difficult to try to navigate, because like you said, our family is it's just not much left, and now potentially very soon we're going to lose some more,
Right.
and my mom is getting up there and she's dealing with health issues, and so this idea of, as it continues to shrink and it's not fully mended yet, and I treat, for your example with your mom calling her dad right away. See, that's how I acclimated right away, and I treat my brother and sister that I had no idea existed as if I've known them my whole life, and they're just, that's who they are, and bro and sis, and yet I have family members who do not, and so yeah, that's a difficult mental game, if you will, to try to navigate all that. And but again, I think I've learned just not to put expectations on it. I just can be me. I can be authentic to how I feel and how I want to view everything and the relationships that I'm trying to have, and that's all I can do, because I can't control what I can't control. And so I'm only trying to control me. And the idea that if indeed my bloodline dies off with me, well, my bloodline dies off with me. I mean, I that used to bother me. It used to bother me a lot. But it is what it is. Every line has to die at some point. Nothing continues forever. So yeah, so there, it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier in the conversation about legacy. So for me, my legacy is now very important to me, because I look at it now as a generational legacy. This will be the Bergman legacy. Where is it going to end? What will people say about the Bergmans throughout history? And I'm the guy that has to put the seal on it and say, this is who we all were. And so my legacy has now become very important to me. And having an only child, and that will be the legacy bestowed upon her. And so that will be what she has to carry forward in her life as to what that family came from. And while building her own legacy and stuff. So it's very important to me that I finished this last game strong. Which is why the health became so important to me, and why that is like the first and foremost. This has to, because I need a few years left to cap this legacy off. So yeah, man, it's definitely, I'm glad you brought that up, because it does still just sit back there. I'm like, God, I'm the last one. What? Every every now and then it just screams at me, yo, you got to make that move because you're the last one to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm the last one to do it. So, yeah, man, it's an interesting game, but I'm looking at it much more positively now, and with much more excitement. It's like, what can I do to end this thing? How can I go out with a bang, and give it everything I got? And that makes me excited and rejuvenated to go at it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I know how you are, and you put a lot of things on your shoulders as well. So I mean, you can't put the blame on you either,
Yeah.
because you had a brother who was given up for adoption, and then you had a brother that passed away. So I mean, it's not your fault at all. So I mean, but that's all about life, man. Just trying to maneuver and bob and weave and trying to figure it all out. It's kind of crazy, right?
It's like you said, we are not in the driver's seat. There is clearly a reason why the universe or God or whatever your belief system is, there is a reason why I'm still here and my little brother is not. There's a reason why I'm still here and I didn't know the other brother or the other side. There's a reason for it. And there's a plan for it. And I don't necessarily know what that plan is yet, but here I am. I can say this, and it's so weird how life works, because I was literally having this conversation earlier today with somebody about how many times I've cheated death, how many times I should be dead. 3 heart attacks, a crazy car accident that in any other circumstance I would have been dead. Everybody in the car should have been dead. We were not. Numerous stupidity things in my youth that probably should have killed me and didn't. But the idea that there's a purpose, there's a reason for that. I wholeheartedly believe that I have a purpose that I have yet to finish, that I have yet to accomplish, and God has me on that path. You are here for a reason, and that is to fulfill your purpose. And I have not done that yet. And so I am confident that that's why I'm still here and why I'm still on my journey and still trying to figure it out. And I will fulfill that purpose and I will do what I'm supposed to do. I'm confident of that. And when I do, then we'll see. I don't know. Will God call it and then it's over, then it's quits, or do I get a little bit more after that? I don't know. We'll just find out, because in the end, it's all about just going.
That's for sure, man. That's for sure. Well, I think a great way to end it would be, we haven't done this in a while, peak and pits of recent day life. I think for me, a peak honestly was, I got a few, moving in here and getting a car and being able to be closer to my family. That's fantastic. Being able to be back on schedule with the company. That's fantastic. But today in particular, this recording is my brother's birthday, and I got to hang out with my sister all day. So I think that's been a really good peak. I really enjoyed today. I think a lot of memories were made, and, a lot of goofiness, that's for sure. And a pit recently was just that anxiety attack. But, that's part of the process, part of the journey, and being able to move past that. Like the next day, it was so crazy. Like I felt so much better the next day. Like I just felt like weight lifted off my shoulders.
Oh, for sure.
After the anxiety attack, I was like so tired. I felt like exhausted because I was so tense. But yeah, after that, I felt great. But yeah, I think those are my peak and pits recently.
I would say that my peaks recently are a couple of things. First and foremost, my health. Getting my health in order. I always look at it as a peak or something really positive when I'm still here. There are a lot of people that have gone through what I've gone through who didn't survive. And so I always look at it as a peak, like, okay, this bad thing happened, but I'm still here and I'm able to address it. I can get on the medications, or I can do the exercise regimes, or do this or whatever I have to. And a lot of people never get that chance. And so I definitely think one of my peaks recently is having the fortune to be still here and address my health and get to a point. And other than genetics, I'm the healthiest I've ever been. So that's a good thing, and that's a real peak for me. And another peak is I'm constantly expanding my journey. So I'm on a spiritual journey, and we've gone through some stuff, but now we're expanding that spiritual journey. And my mentor has introduced me to a new path, and we're exploring new areas and that's been really exciting for me. Anytime because if you guys don't know, I'm a sponge with learning. I love to learn new things. I get excited when I can get something that I haven't gotten before and figure something out or learn something new. And so going down these paths with my mentor and doing these things excites me. It fires me up. It just gets me motivated to really go. And I'm excited. And we just started that, week before last. We're doing more tomorrow. And so I'm really excited about that. Pits. I'm just going to be honest about it. The pits are my delayed relocation. It's a pit, man. Like I said, that there is where I want to be. I want to be with my family, closer to my family, and be around that, and just that's my happy place. Beyond just my family, that's where I spent the majority of my life. That's where I feel most comfortable. That's where I feel most me. And it's a pit. There's no doubt about it. Is it a pit of my own doing? No. Things happen. This health shit happened, and there's nothing I could do about it. And I am in a position where I have to deal with that before. But am I happy about it? No, it's definitely a pit. but I'm dealing with it. So, and my much like my peaks outweigh my pits, right? So I deal with the pit. It sucks right now, but I've got a plan. I just readjusted my plan. I've laid out my timeline. I've got a new, and I'm just focusing on my peaks because that plan will happen. Has it been altered? Sure, but it will happen. That's the end point, right? The goal will happen. It's just you got to do. But yeah, man, we're just I'm happy. I'm happy. Is everything perfect? No, of course not. But is everything good? Is everything okay? Yes. And I think I'm happy.
Yes, most definitely. And that's really all we're striving for, right?
Yeah.
Just to make the best out of either a bad situation, the best out of a good situation, mediocre, whatever. Just make sure you hit that pillow at the end of the night thinking that you're going to be okay. Tomorrow's going to come and it's a brand new day, a brand new step to making sure that everything's okay.